how's it going and welcome to The Guitar Effect. My name's Rob. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at the Mooer GE1000. It's a multi-effects unit and amp modeler from Mooer, and it's currently like their kind of flagship modeler that doesn't involve capture technology. So this is it. I have it plugged in because I'm going to need to have it plugged in to kind of show you some of what it does. Let's kind of try and get it in focus here. There. So what this is a really well designed, well engineered, well thought out multi-effects and amp modeler. And what in this video, which is going to be the first of three, I'm going to go over the ins and outs, as in the ways you can plug into it and plug out of it, the user interface and the different features and stuff like that in the intro here. And then I'm going to go into some sound examples of what it can do. So the first thing I think we should do is have a listen to this in a track, right? So I've used it for two different sounds that I've programmed in for one of my own band songs. So have a listen to it here and you can hear what some of the sounds you can get out of it. So there you go, that was a kind of dotted delay sound at the beginning there, along with a big muff fuzz kind of sound, and then a sort of straight up distortion sound, all using individual foot switch to change those different presets to turn on and off combinations of effects. It's really good at that, and it has loads of different modes of operation that allow you to use it in different ways. I'm going to kind of go out on a limb here and say I've reviewed units, multi-effects units from a lot of different manufacturers at this stage, and in this sort of 250 to 600 euro price range, this is definitively the best one I've come across for a number of reasons, right? There are a load of things about this that I think make it stand out, and it has very few shortcomings. So just to go through what it is first. So what you have here is you have a unit with 4 foot switches across the front and 1 extra foot switch up here. But how it actually works is this is up and down bank, and then these are 3 kind of select foot switches, A, B and C here. So the idea is you've got banks go up and down of presets, and you've got 3 presets per bank. And that's kind of the principal way that it operates, but there are several other modes of operation. Then secondary, you've got these buttons here that you can see under the screen, and they individually select individual effect blocks that you can click them and go in and tweak whatever's happening in that effects block. And what's really cool is with a lot of these units, these will be preordained to be things like, so this will be like a noise gate and then a compressor and then an overdrive and then a boost, yada yada yada, delay, reverb or whatever. These are assignable to be whatever you want per patch, right? And they're all color coded, so different colors generally tend to mean different type of effects groups. Like one is drive, one is dynamics, one is pitch shifting, whatever it may be, modulation, delay and reverb. So these buttons give you quick access on the front without using the touchscreen at all, which you can do also very easily. These buttons give you really quick access to access any of the effects or amps that you've set up, right? Then the other features are you've got a home button to bring you back to the home screen, which changes the nature of the display here, which you can see here, from the signal flow to like the name of the preset. Then you've got a save button, and then you've got a settings button to get into the master menu. Then you've also got a sort of encoder knob here that allows you to select between like the value of the parameter that you're editing if you don't want to use the touchscreen. And then you've got a master volume knob, okay? So that's all the controls on the front cover. Obviously there's a touchscreen here, and this touchscreen is absolutely excellent, right? It really is amazing. And the touchscreen, as I said before, you can have in this mode where you have a small signal chain, the big name, or you can have in this mode where you have a more detailed signal chain with a smaller name. There's only two options on the screen because you only need two. I love that. This is a really brilliantly thought out unit. On the screen then you have things like you have the patch level, you have the tempo of the current patch, you have what the volume pedal is assigned to, you have the name and the number obviously, which are really important in a gigging context, and then you have your signal path, and on the signal path certain effects box or little outputs being on and certain ones are off, and that's really handy. And if you want to have a bigger effects box, like I said, you can go in, you can see more detailed version of the menu here. You can also go into any one of these things by double tapping it, and you can go in and edit the parameters of that. That's the reverb, for example. So then that's the main sort of menu. There's a settings menu. I'm not going to go into that. I'm trying to keep this intro a little bit short if I can. Now if we go around the back, there is an input here, then there is an effects loop. And this effects loop is stereo. So you can use a stereo external effects unit in a stereo effects chain in this, which is pretty amazing. But I want to say this at this point, this is the first drawback. When I got this from Mooer, and by the way, Mooer sent this out to me for free. So this is a sponsor video, I guess you could say. They're not paying me to make the video, but they sent it to me for review. When I got this, one of the reasons I got it was because it has a stereo effects loop. I thought maybe there was a possibility that because it's 2 ins and 2 outs, I'd be able to run 2 external devices in it. As in put 2 different overdrive pedals in, for example. So far, I cannot find a way to do that. But however, Mooer told me it is possible. But I can't find anything in any literature or any way that within the software or anything to be able to make that happen. But they told me it is possible, but I can't see how it is to run 2 different devices. So really, you've got one effects loop here that you can run in mono or stereo. And you've got 2 XLR outs for running stereo to the desk or to your recording interface. You've got a ground lift, then you've got a phone socket, and then you've got the 2 1/4-inch outs, and then you've got a MIDI in and out. Now, I'm going to flip this back around. Apologies, I had a light die on me there, so I've lost a bit of light, so I'm just going to get the end of this I/O kind of description section. One last thing to mention about this that is a bit of a game changer for me compared to other effects units is, right? This has the ability to assign a MIDI program change every time you change presets. Other units have that, but they only have preset 1 sends MIDI command 1. You can't edit it. In this, you can assign each foot switch in each preset change to send whatever MIDI you want to send, whatever MIDI program change message you want to send. That means it can control external MIDI devices really, really well. And that is a differentiator on this unit for me against all of the other kind of 250 to 600 euro units, like I said. This is a huge deal with this because I use external MIDI devices when I'm using multi-effects units. It's how I like to run them. Oh, and obviously, I obviously forgot, neglected to mention, it's got an expression pedal here in the end with a toe switch that you can use to turn on and off or control various parameters of effects. So there you go. That's kind of the intro to the unit. So what we should do now is have a listen to it. This really, really quite amazing Mooer GE1000. Okay, so the demo of the GE1000. First of all, I'm going to play this. This is my about 12-year-old Mex 60 style telly. It's just a standard telly with a rosewood board and 60 style pickups. I'm playing out of it into the GE1000, out of the GE1000 into the Focusrite Scarlett interface, okay? And then into Logic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this demo up into 3 parts, and I'm going to try to keep them as concise as I can. The first thing I'm going to do is I've set up 3 sounds. I've set up a clean sound, a dirty sound, and a heavy sound. And I'm just going to play through them and show you what they do, right? Then, when that's done, I'm going to go into the switching capability within those three sounds, so it'll allow me to gig with these three sounds that I want to do. And they're very utilitarian sounds, kind of basic sounds, right? In this instance, I'm using only the GE1000 as well. My amp, cab, power amp, pedals, everything is coming from the GE1000, okay? So, so to get started then, right, here are my three sounds. Here's a clean sound. Incidentally, having just tuned my guitar there, there's a really cool thing. I'm just going to go into the tuner for a second. You hold these two switches, A and B, to get into the tuner. There's a little thing that tells you how many cents you're out on each string, which is really great. Like, my G is just a little bit, or my G sharp is just a little bit low, which allows for real fine tuning, which I really like. So the tuner works great, by the way, right? So then from there, here is my clean sound, neck pickup. Okay, it's a Fender Bassman preset basically. And here is the dirty sound. And here is the heavy sound. The heavy sound's like a modded plexi kind of thing. And the dirty sound is a matchless type situation. Okay, so how you might use these three sounds is, I'm just going to play this little part, right? Where you play this kind of bluesy, soul-y kind of riff thing, I don't know. And you might come into the chorus. You might go for a solo. Really, basically, you have three different very basic sounds at your fingertips. So, as I said, they are a Fender Bassman type thing, a matchless kind of 30 watt kind of thing, and a plexi kind of thing, right? So specifically how they're made up is, on the clean sound, there is a 59 Bassman preamp, there is a 6L6 power amp, and then there's a US Deluxe 112 cab. On the dirty one, it's a matchless preamp. I can't remember which one. It's a normal E84 power amp, and it's a custom 212 cabinet, which is like one of Mooer's own IORs or cab models, whatever they are. And then on the heavy, it's a Plexi 100 preamp. It's a normal EL34 power amp, and it's an EVH 4x12. Right now, when I got this unit from Mooer, the first thing I did was went in and tried to set up like three basic sounds. Just to take a little second to talk about like my philosophy behind these things. A lot of videos you will see will go through factory presets of units. I've no interest in factory presets whatsoever. I know what sounds I want to get are, and I'd much rather go in and pick amps, power amps in this case, cabs, all that kind of stuff to get my bass sounds, and then add effects to them. And what I did in this situation was I went in and started with a clean preset, added the amp, cab and power amp, and then built effects around it. And then as I went through the three different presets, I didn't change a lot of those effects. Like, they all have an analog delay and a tape delay. They all have some sort of modulation effect, generally a tremolo and something else. So like one has a rotary, one has a chorus. And then there will be a compressor on the clean sound. There's also a pitch shift for doing 12 string stuff, simulation on the clean sound if I want. So I generally have, like, as if I have a rig, a pedal board, and then I have the choice between three different amplifiers. But the other thing I try to do is, and you'll hear this, I try to make the three amplifiers make sense in context with each other. So here is the clean sound. It's a little bit bitey, and the reason for that is that when I go to the dirty sound, I found that when I was using the deluxe preamp, it was too round compared to the matchless. And then for the heavy one, again, they all kind of, you know, none of them are vastly different to each other, that if you wanted to gig with this, there would be a massive change when you went from one amp setup to the other. So that's the first thing I did. Got 3 amps that worked well together. It took such a long time. It took like hours to try and find the right amps and the right cabs and the right power amp combinations, just for this one guitar, by the way, as well. Now, I will say that I have tried it with a few other guitars, and it does stand up as being a usable, consistent rig. And that's how I do this, right? In the third part of this video, what I'm going to do is get the software up and show you the in-depth sort of ways that I programmed all this, in case you want to do that. Okay, so there are the 3 different sounds. So in any given gig, I'm not going to be in a situation where I only use these 3 sounds, right? What I'm more than likely going to do is start with one of those sounds, spend the entire song in that sound, and have all the switching I need in that sound. But as you can see, there are only 3 preset switches available to me on the unit at this one time. And this is where I think the GE1000 stands out for me among modelers, especially kind of, what would you call them, like semi-pro level modelers that are around the almost 250 to 650 euro price range. The switching, the design on this unit is absolutely outstanding. Really, I think it leaves the rest in the shadow. It's really brilliant. So you pick the song. So let's say I'm playing a song and I decide, right, I'm going to be in the clean sound for majority of that, right? I hit the clean sound again and I get into this menu here where I have a choice between 3 A, B and C across the top there, which are kind of sub presets, and then A, B and C at the bottom, which are like individual stomp box functions, right? So let me just show you. So I'm in there, say there's an ambient song on the clean sound and I want kind of an ambient sound. I hit, once this foot switch is blue, which is a mode, right? So right now it's selecting, you can see there, right? It's selecting sub presets, but if I hit this switch and it turns to purple, these become stomp box controls. And those stomp box controls can either turn one pedal on or turn a number of pedals on, or indeed one pedal off and one pedal on, right? So I'll come into stomp box mode in a minute. So I'm in here and I want to do an ambient piece. So right there I have a tape delay on and a tremolo on, and they're both activated on that one switch. And then from there, say I'm in there and I decide, right, I'm doing that and I want to play like a big fuzzy part. I have a fuzz lead switch that turns off the tape delay and turns off the tremolo and gives me a big fuzz sound. Fantastic, right? Or in the middle, I want to have like a chorused boosted sound. So the key thing there is I'll immediately have 3 sub presets at my feet in any one of those sounds. So within the patch, you have 3 sub patches. And they're really easily available with the same foot switches, which I think is really amazing. But I might not want to do that. So I might want to, I'm just going to turn back off that. Oh, and then here's the other thing. It's a little thing, but I love it. You actually have 4 sub presets, because you've got, without any of the sub presets on, which is one preset, which is just plainly clean. Oh, sorry. No. You have clean. Right, you have ambient, you've chorus boost, and you have fuzz lead. So it's actually 4 sub presets within the one preset, which is really, really brilliant, right? Then I'll be making a whole other video where I utilize that functionality in depth, and that'll be the second video, which gets into like set list programming and in-depth switching. But Second to that, then I can hit this switch and go over, and now I have stomp box control. So this first turns off my compressor and turns on a clone. Right? Or I also have this other drive that's not mid boost. Sorry, that turns on the tremolo. I have to relabel that button. And I have a tap tempo. So if I go into the one with the ambient switch where I have the delay on, I have a tap tempo here. Yeah, tap tempo is a control delay. It slows it down. I don't have the delay assigned to that tap tempo, but I have a tap tempo in every preset, right? So that's within one preset, right? I'm just going to switch all these off and switch off the ambient sound. If I go back up to the main menu, now I'm back out of that same clean preset. Go into B, I'm in the dirty preset. Same thing applies. Hit the, sorry, wrong switch. I want to go up one, clean, dirty no loop, yeah. By the way, I'll explain the no loop thing at the end of this section. Right, okay, so dirty preset, hit the switch, same thing. I have it dirty, turning on drive pedal as a preset. I have a lead one which turns on the delay and a boost and a pedal. Really, really useful stuff. So then in the second slot of the sub presets, it's called Edge, and you can imagine what that is, right? So it's two delays. It's a .8 delay and a quarter note delay, along with just the amp and a bit of compression, and it sounds like this. Does the Edge thing. So what's really handy about that is you have the ability to have these preordained sounds that you might need within each preset, and they're right there to touch with a switch. But at the same time, if I switch that off, I've also got a big muff down here. And I've got a rotary, which I prefer with the drive sound. So to do that, I leave the rotary on and I go over and hit this drive pedal. Oh, and then I have to go back and hit the rotary at the same time. I really like the rotary sound on this. Like, it's an effect that can be a make or break thing for me with modellers, and the rotary is not the best I've ever heard, but it's by far by no means the worst I've ever heard, and it's very, very much usable. So that's the kind of different sounds I have available within the dirty patch, and again I can just switch those off and go out to the main menu. I can go from dirty to heavy. And this one I'm using a Plexi, I'm using a EL34 power amp and an EVH5150 4x12. And again, if I go into the switching by hitting this switch, I have a lead patch, bit of delay and a bit of boost. I have this cool tremolo and octave patch. Very cool. And at the end I have this lead rotary patch with a ridiculous speed on for some reason. So I suppose let's try to make an edit to fix that, right? Okay, so how to do that is I simply go back out to the main screen, I go to my rotary, which is there. I double tap it, I get in, and I can see for some reason the rate is up at 16. Oh, it's because I have it synced, I think. So I just wind back the knob. Too slow. Go up and wind up more. I can do this here, by the way, either way. I can use my... That works great. Now, what I'm going to need to do is I go back out by going save, save, yeah. And then it's on at the moment, so I'm going to go back in, switch off my rotary patch, and then hit it. Speed problem solved. And like, just to note as well, I suppose I should say, in the pedal section I have a tube screamer. And I have a pure boost. So you have a gain boost and a volume boost. I find a very little erroneous extra effects needed in a heavy patch. So that's that, right? There's just two other things I want to demonstrate really quickly. So, okay, so the last thing I want to show you is using an external preamp, right? So what I'm going to do is I've got the same three patches in the next bank, except instead of being called clean no loop, it's now called clean loop. And the reason for that is in the first three patches I use all the GE1000, didn't use any external devices. Now I have taken my 2 notes revolt all tube 3-channel preamp and I've plugged it into the effects loop just via 2 patch cables, and I've also plugged a MIDI cable from MIDI out on the GE1000 into the MIDI in on the back of my revolt, right? So what happens is now, I can't show you the revolt, I can't get it in shot, but what happens is, same, there's a chorus on there, I'm just going to turn it off. Clean, dirty, heavy. So what's happening there is it's the exact same 3 patches. I'm using the same power amp and the same speaker cabs as I was in the last three patches, but now the effects loop has my external preamp patched in. And there's no point in me going through the sounds, but basically that's what happens. Every time I switch, it sends a MIDI signal to change the channel on the tube preamp. And they're the 3 channels, right? Now I'm not going to get into the MIDI programming of this, it's going to be in the next video, because in the next video I'm going to get into some quite complex switching, right? So that's basically the way that the first kind of 6 basic patches I've set up. 3 patches and I'm showing the switching, and then the same 3 patches but using an external tube preamp with MIDI. So basically that's kind of the overview of the basic functionality of the unit. In the next 2 videos I'll be getting into. The next one will be kind of more advanced switching, and then the one after that I'll be using it as part of a pedal board. So what I'm going to do now is jump over to the editor and show you how I put these patches together. Okay, so when you open up the editor, this is what you'll see, okay? So you plug your unit in via USB, you download the Mooer Studio for GE1000, and this is what you'll see. So the first thing you need to do is connect your editor, so you hit the connect button here, it'll go through a little sync process, and then all your presets will be loaded up. Right now I have 9 presets done. I've cleans with no loop, cleans with the loop, and naughty clean. I've already explained what no loop and loop means. No loop means it's using all on board amp modeling, and loop means I'm using the effects loop, which you can see here, to plug in my external preamp, but I'm still using a power amp and a cab sim, okay? Then when I get into naughty here, naughty is it should be written N-O-U-G-H-T-Y, not N-A, because Naughty is a band I have that covers the music of the Naughty, so specifically the Strokes and the Kings of Leon and the Kaiser Chiefs and White Stripes and people like that. And these are the 3 presets I've set up to use with my amplifier, and it's based around the same principle. But so going up to clean loop, you can see here, right, that all I did was go in to fill up every space, every available slot I should say, and then I have things I might need for like a standard sort of setup. So I have a poly shift that's set to an octave up with a low mix, and that's to simulate a 12 string. I have a yellow comp, it's a compressor. I have a tube driver, which is based on a tube driver, and that's for my kind of main distortion sound if I want to hit distortion while I'm in this clean preset. I have a grey phase, which is a fuzz, which I demonstrated earlier on. As I was talking about, I have a US Bassman M, and then I have a normal 6L6 power amp, and then I have a US Deluxe 112 cabinet, right? And then in between that I have a noise reducer, a chorus, a tremolo, a tape, an analog delay, and a spring reverb. And that is what makes up the majority of the clean preset. So it's really easy to do. If I wanted to change this phase to something else, for example, all my options are here down the side. I could change any one of these boost / overdrive / distortion / fuzz pedals. So you've got 3 drive pedals. I've got the pure boost after the preamp so that when I hit it, it increases volume. And that's the clean preset, right? Also it's important to note that right now everything's going in input A right through and out output B, right? And what that means is it's just a serial, basically every pedal and amp element is one sequentially after the other. Dirty no loop, okay? Change it slightly, so I've got a flex boost at the beginning of no pitch shifter. I've got a D drive, which is a kind of, the flex boost is kind of just driving it a little bit. The D drive gives more of a kind of thick overdrive sound. I've got a big muff in there. I've got an analog chorus and a rotary before the preamp in this instance. And then I've got a pure boost after it again to give me a volume boost. I've got a noise reducer, and I've got tremolo, real echo, mod, and spring again. And in this instance, I'm using the Matchbox 30 crunch setting. I'm using a normal EL84, which is what the Matchbox would use, and I've got a custom 212, so which is based on a custom audio 212 cabinet. It's probably like Pete Thorne's cabinet. And then I've got heavy no loop, which has the 100 watt plexi distortion setting. A lot of these amps have a clean and distorted setting. I've got the EV 5150 412 cabinet. I just found that one like the best, and I've got a normal EL34 power amp. As you can see over here, you've all these different types of power amp you can choose. If I go into the preamps, there's all these different preamps. There's also classic, boutique, bass, and then GNR, which is like where you can add Mooer's community-based preamp models that you can download from their website. So they're the loop solutions. On the heavy one, I have a tube screamer, I have an octave pedal to do an octave down, I have a rotary, I have a pure boost. I always find I have less use for effects on a heavy sound. And then I have a noise reducer, a tremolo, a tape, an analog, and a hole. On the clean loop setting, it's exactly the same as above, except as I mentioned before, the preamp has been replaced by the effects loop. So that's where I'm inserting my external preamp. And then there's the same cab and all the effects and the power amp, right? So I'm going to skip down through these two because they're effectively the same, except the effects loop in both instances, as you can see here, replaces the digital preamp from the Mooer unit, which you can see here, right? So that's where these 3 are the same three presets, but I'm inserting my external preamp in the effects loop. Now, this is a bit different. So when I come down to naughty here, right, obviously it looks kind of the same at first glance, but what I'm actually doing is, this is when I'm playing live, and what I'm doing is I am using MIDI to switch channels on my Koch Studio Tone 3020 head. Now, as you can see, you have in A, and the signal goes along through a yellow comp, a gold clon, a blues crab. There's an effects loop. That's the preamp of that's like my external like live amplifier. There's a pure boost and a fat phaser, and they all come before this point here. At this point, the signal breaks off and goes down into a tape delay, a spring reverb, an Intelli reducer, a power amp, and a Deluxe 112 cabinet. And what's happening here is, you'll see I have a tape echo here, and I also have a tape echo here, right? What's happening there is this tape echo is going to my cabinet and amp live out of output A, and that is set to a 1/4 inch out, as you can see here. And then before that tape echo, the signal breaks off, goes through another tape echo and a spring reverb, because on output A, there's a spring reverb on my amplifier, and then it goes through a power amp, which means that my amp's preamp is actually running through a digital power amp and through a speaker cabinet and out to output B, which is XLR8. So what that means is, This output is for stage monitoring and comes out through my head and cab on stage. And this output is for front to house, which goes out as the XLR output on the unit. But what it means is the same preamp is being used in both situations. So what that means is my Koch preamp on my onstage amp is giving me my clean drive and lead sounds in combination with any one of these pedals. Then it's going through this tape delay and out to my by the way, the pure boost, the fat phaser and the tape delay are all after the preamp of my amp, so it's like they're in the effects loop, and then they're going out to my stage amp. But then before this tape delay, it's breaking off and going down into these other effects, which are basically the tape echo, which mirrors the tape echo on stage. Then there's a spring reverb because my output A already has a spring reverb on my amp. And then there's a noise reducer, the power amp and the cab. And what that means is the same signal effectively gets sent out both outputs. This one XLR to the desk, and this one without any cab sim or power amp sim goes to my amp, which is really, really handy. And the same thing applies to the dirty sound. All this is that when I go in, there's a MIDI command sent, which I actually can't control MIDI from this editor, which I think is something they should add in the next update. On the unit, it's under settings, but there's nowhere here in settings to control MIDI. What I'll do is, in the next video I will demo MIDI, because in the next video I'll be getting into advanced switching, and that's where MIDI will come into play. But using MIDI, I switch between the clean channel, the dirty channel, and the heavy channel, all on this effects loop, okay? Which is where the preamp of my amplifier is. And that is how you use the editor to set up your different sounds. So, there you go, the GE1000 from Mooer. This is the most impressed I've been with a compact multi-effects modelling unit like this. I'm really, really blown away by it. I think it's fantastic. The operation modes going between this main operation of the preset screen and then into the sub presets, or indeed the stomp box switches, is just, sub presets, and then here to go to the stomp box switches. So sub presets, stomp box switches. Just fantastic. I actually got a 4-button MIDI foot switch with this on request from Mooer when they sent it out. I actually don't know if it's necessary. I think I'd be able to do my whole gig just switching between these two modes and then going out here to switch to the next song. It's really brilliantly thought out. I'm really, really impressed by it. Really, really like it. So that's the end of video one. So I've shown operating modes. I've given examples of internal amps. I've shown how to control external units. In the next video, pardon me, in the next video, I'm going to get into setting up a set list of patches and how you can use the switching to gig with this, because I think that's the most important thing in the context of any of these units, is how do you actually use them live. So that'll be coming probably next week. And if you've watched this far, have any questions about the unit, throw them in the comments section down below. If I can, I'll answer them. I'm sure, hopefully I will be able to answer them. And if you've watched this far and you've enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out massively. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you in another video again soon, specifically the next one about this.